If you've happened to follow this channel, you know that I occasionally make demakes of games, either mocked up or running on real hardware. But I have to admit, writing games for 20-year-old platforms isn't always fun. I mean, after I've made a demake, what do I get? A sense of achievement, personal satisfaction, and diddly squat. But I think there's a place where my programming talents can be put to better use. AI. AI is so big now that $170 billion was invested into it just last year. When you go on the App Store, there are like 11 identical AI chat apps, each one with a more plagiarized logo than the last. But I think what the AI space needs is something new, something different, something worse. I mean, if a platform to do leading artificial intelligence software around a robust solutions framework aimed at solving numerous customer challenges, I don't totally know what that is, but if it raised $18 million, surely I could make anything and raise a lousy couple mil. The problem is that language models like ChatGPT require massive servers to run, servers that I do not own. And even though much smaller and faster models are being made, they still take months of work, thousands of dollars, and mountains of data to build. So what if I tried to build the smallest language model possible? Specifically, one small enough to fit on a Gameboy Advance. I've worked with the GBA before. Unlike something like the SNES, it's not a horrible platform to program for, but it is very slow. In terms of speed and memory, it's about 28,000 times worse than a smartphone. It's not going to be able to support any advances in language models in the last 10 years, or even really the last 30 years. Without getting into the history of text generation, the most critical first question I had was whether the GBA could support a neural network. About the last 20 years of text generation is built on them, so if I can't support one, I'll really be out of luck. The GBA is definitely powerful enough to support a small neural net, but unfortunately it probably can't run one large enough to be useful. That means we're going back. Way back to a technique first developed in 1948, the Markov chain. The idea of a Markov chain is very simple. It generates text, one word at a time, picking the next word based on the previous word, like the suggestions on a phone keyboard. This is in principle also how other language models, like Claude, work, but where Claude uses a complex deep learning network to make that prediction, a Markov chain basically rolls dice. If the word butter follows the word peanut 70% of the time in its training data, then a Markov chain is going to suggest butter after peanut 70% of the time. Now, getting a Markov chain up and running on the GBA was easier than making a neural net, but still wasn't super easy. A lot of programming structures I'm used to in regular coding aren't available, or are buggy and poorly documented, but I got around it by writing a different program to generate the Markov chain code automatically. Once I was done, I tested out my Markov chain by feeding it a list of common greetings and having it generate new ones.
Hello, how's your favorite type of music? Hello, how do you been? Hi there, do you been to any travel plans coming up to? How are you sleep? Hi, what's your day going? Hey, have you seen any sports teams? Howdy.
Wow. These are all honestly better at conversation than I am. But while doing this, I ran into a problem. The GBA only supports a limited number of sprites on the screen at one time, and each letter takes one sprite. So I can only display about 60 letters at a time. Also, the GBA has no keyboard, so you have to move around a little reticle to select the letters one at a time, like on a TV or something. ChatGPT, your days are numbered. Before I kept going though, there was another problem. Most language models, like Gemini, don't just generate random text, they respond to prompts, answer questions. How could I implement that in a Markov chain? The first thing I did was have the model favor certain words based on words in the prompt. I ran through a bunch of question and answer data, and I statistically correlated words in questions to words in answers. If you mention France in your question, for example, you're more likely to get Paris in your answer. This is a really stupid way of adding interactivity, but there weren't a lot of other tools at my disposal. I also added in a couple of other tricks to make the model look smarter. I programmed in some basic pattern recognition. For instance, if you ask a question saying, "What is X?" then the model will know to start an answer by saying, "X is," and then go on. This kind of technique is used a lot in early chatbots like Eliza, and it really goes a long way. I also tweaked with the Markov chain, making it look at the last 2 words instead of just the last word. This should make the model better at generating grammatical and understandable text. Lastly, I wanted to give the model as much training data as possible. I started with 10 question-answer pairs, then 100, then 500, and 500, it turns out, is too many. The GBA couldn't handle that many sentences. It can support 300 though, and that's about the limit. With all those changes in place, I was finally ready to try out my Gameboy Advance language model. To start, I asked it a question about the Vatican Apostolic Library, or the VAT for short. Its training data had a few pieces of information about the VAT in there, so it should be able to generate a pretty good response. What is the VAT?
The VAT is the Vatican Apostolic Library, although it is unclear.
That is vaguely correct, actually. I'm not sure about the last part, though, but it's pretty good. What is a movie?
A movie is the library into 5 periods.
Well, duh, obviously, but maybe let's try that one again.
A movie is the Rankinbus animated film production company.
That is better. How many presidents are there?
May and Nicole were headed to the Wangbak Yang divorce.
Wow, I wanted information, but I got gossip, I guess, which obviously is better. But I'm not content with having my bot just answer regular questions. If I want it to be taken seriously as a language model, I have to do what all the real major players are doing, like Grok. I have to wildly exaggerate its abilities by giving it tasks it's not meant to handle. So who cares about general knowledge questions? Let's try giving my bot the hardest philosophical questions ever posed. What is God?
God is.
Are people good?
Ted Garretson was 28 years old.
What's after death?
Julianne Moore plays a college professor who pretends to.
So my bot seems to work pretty well. Except I've gotten this far without naming it. I mean, might as well just ask it, right? What is your name?
These birds are most typically members of the Obama.
It's a little long, but I guess we could call it Bird Obama or something for short. I'm sure Bird Obama will be able to compete with the best language models out there, like Mistral, Numina, and Squangle. I mean, sure, it doesn't have the best performance, but at least it's never been used to plagiarize on a mass scale or commit bizarre sexual harassment. It's not built on the backs of underpaid Kenyan workers, and it's never been used to create an army of bots. I mean, honestly, I think the advantages are obvious. I've already sent 5 unsolicited pitches to venture capital firms, and I should be expecting the money in my bank account any day now.